After presenting the US with a framework trade proposal in May and then a revised proposal in August, movement towards the finalization of a bilateral trade agreement remains painstaking, but with some progress.
Our teams have been engaging, at least at the level of the text now, the actual document. There were discussions on Tuesday and Wednesday, quite intense discussions between the team. By the time we received the report jointly with the U.S. Trade Representative, there were indications that we're making significant progress in terms of the discussions and the way forward. And what's the way forward, you would ask? The U.S. will give us a revised text on the basis of the comments and questions over the past week. We anticipate that that would be given to us early in the next week. It would give us about 2 weeks to consider, to consult stakeholders, sister departments, go to cabinet, get a mandate, and be able to respond. And from there, we'd be able to then get into the details of the negotiation. Well, firstly, there is...
Minister Tau would not be drawn on specifics due to the sensitive stage of the talks.
I won't get into the granular detail except to say that in our discussions, we're looking at matters related to trade and tariffs and what possible considerations there could be with regards to trade and tariffs. What products are we talking about? What products does the U.S. wish to sell into the South African market? What the tariff conditions are? How you create parity that they are seeking in terms of other markets that they would be competing with? But also how you get South African products into the U.S. and what work is being done. So the trade and tariffs issues are ongoing, and there's still some discussions to be had there.
The minister indicated that areas of potential US investment into South Africa were also discussed, including critical minerals, unlocking gas and helium production, while we pressed him on whether geopolitical disagreements and US concerns about the country's BEE laws were a factor in these negotiations.
It was raised in the initial parts of the discussions, but in the past week it's not an issue that was put on the table. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come up. We're not suggesting that it wouldn't. But I'm encouraged by the fact that we are now in discussion. We're now at a point where we're looking at documents, at text, at proposals, and it's a text-based negotiations. And we would be able to present our side of the story. And of course, the US would engage us. Negotiations in their very nature are not easy engagements. So we do anticipate that these would be difficult negotiations, as should be expected. But I think the fact that we're at a point of discussion, and I think on both sides there's a commitment to ensure that we're able to make progress.
On AGOA that lapses at the end of the month,
we have raised the issue of AGOA. The general sentiment is that there is appetite to renew AGOA, but it's running against critical timelines. It ends at the end of September. Can it be tagged to a different bill is a question that the US congressmen and women have been asking, and they are considering that and different options about if it does expire, how to renew it as quickly as possible. So it is on the cards. The detail of how it would look like is something that we'd have to engage with at the point that the bill is being presented. But at this point, there is an indication that there's broader appetite to renew AGOA.
The South African delegation, led by President Ramaphosa, is expected to engage later this week on the margins of the UNGA in bilateral discussions with leading US companies seeking to invest in South Africa and a trade and investment executive dialogue co-hosted by the US Chamber of Commerce. Shervin Ricebees, SABC News, New York.